there, it's Allan from Loud Clear Glasgow, and I am delighted to be joined this morning by Niall, who is the European Sales Manager for Innuos. Welcome.
Thank you,
to
Allan.
Glasgow.
Great to be here.
Thank you. Looking forward to finding out a little bit more about Innuos this morning. A little bit of background to the company, who they are, what they're about, and a little bit of a range overview. So without any further ado, Niall, can you tell me a little bit about Innuos, where you came from, what you're about as a company?
Thanks, Allan. So Innuos came about really from around 2009. It came from an audiophile engineer in Nuno who was looking for a good music server streaming system and wasn't particularly satisfied with what was available on the market. So set about designing a system himself. By the time 2013 came, that's when Innuos as a company really was born, and started working as a team, started hiring new talent in software and engineering and developing the products now that we see today. They're all a big evolution. In 2016 is when the Zen Mark II was launched, and that marked a point where our own software became key to the product. And we developed from there.
And I think that was around about the time when we probably started.
It would have.
With you guys, I think.
Yes.
And really the Zen being a kind of hard disk storage device, really.
Exactly.
For clients to, rip their CDs and store downloaded music onto.
That was exactly it. And the products from then grew from strength to strength. The products have always been designed in-house. We designed the hardware and the software together. To complement each other, which is really critical, because with streaming and any digital music, two really key things are the sound quality has to be as good as possible, and of course the usability is really important. You want a system that's nice to use, intuitive, and is really doing a lot of the work for you, so you don't have to think too much about it.
Okay, so for those people who are familiar with obviously what an amplifier does, what a pair of speakers does, what is a digital streamer and what does it do?
A digital streamer, or digital servers, as we do both. To take a digital server, it's a way of storing music on a network, taking those files, be it from a CD, from a download, storing them reliably, safely, and then being able to deliver those music files to your system,
to your hi-fi system,
in the highest fidelity, in the best quality.
Okay.
With streaming of course then brings us into the world of streaming services, where now you're exposed to enormous libraries from the likes of Tidal, Qobuz are really good examples, and you can open up a wealth of music that perhaps you wouldn't find otherwise.
Yeah. Okay. So your products effectively sit at the beginning of the hi-fi chain, as it were.
Very much so, and as with any hi-fi, that's critical. That the signal must start.
The kind of old garbage in, garbage out kind of philosophy.
It's true.
It's true.
Yeah, absolutely true.
Absolutely. And you've not really, you really focus on that. So unlike other manufacturers who also produce amplifiers and loudspeakers, you've pretty much stuck to your guns, and you really only make products in the digital domain, don't you?
That's absolutely correct. We focus entirely on that.
Okay.
It's the digital front end, and we want to be able to deliver, again, to repeat, the best quality sound and a great interface for people to use.
Do you have any unique technologies that you guys can use, or is there a different approach to how you deal in the digital world?
So there are unique technologies, certainly. We approach the streaming and the servers in a similar way to how a lot of other hi-fi companies will approach different products.
Okay.
Critical things are distortion, being absolutely minimized, and in the digital domain that is really, really critical.
Okay.
Secondly, as well, is what we'd say is noise floor, noise that can creep into a system. Maybe not particularly audible, but these have the effect of reducing soundstage, making music fatiguing to listen to, which would be a complaint some people would have about some digital systems. When you minimize those through the use of very advanced power supplies, through chassis that are designed to block EM information, through processors that are being absolutely optimized by the software, you can really start working to get rid of that noise, and the effects on the music playback is dramatic.
Okay.
As that.
Okay.
Is
So it's an
implemented.
interesting one. So do you evaluate that in the audible way? Do you listen to products, or is it a measurement? Is it an engineering tool, or a mixture of the both?
All of the above.
All of the above.
To the point where even in our new generation products, we would listen to different hard drives
Right.
on the market to find which one is producing the least noise, which one is the most robust and has the best quality power implementation.
Okay,
And believe it or not, all of these things make a difference. Yeah, so we test and listen like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah,
it's a real work of passion
Good.
to do the best there.
Excellent. That's great. Okay, so we've got some of your products in front of us.
Sure.
Could you give me a little bit of a kind of range overview?
Just to give an idea, we've got a small selection here of some of our products. This is our entry-level streamer. It's called the Pulse Mini. This doesn't have storage. It's not a server. It's a hard drive-based server. But it's a window into our product range. Operates on our software, which is called Sense, an operating system. It's really an endpoint.
Okay, and the software that operates, so that's effectively an app that will sit on your phone or your tablet, and that allows you to browse your music files and
absolutely
choose what you want to listen to.
It's effectively the operating system that all of our products run on. We are compatible with other products as well, such as Rune is a very popular control point. We see that as
Rune, similarly, another kind of software platform that lets you, sits on your iPad, sits on your phone, lets you browse your music, whether it's either stored on the network, on a hard drive, such as one of these, or indeed from a streaming site like Qobuz or Tidal or Spotify or whatever.
Absolutely. And also with that, one of the really, really key points of streaming is the fun side, which is discovering new music.
Yeah, totally.
It's amazing. You can pick an artist, listen to an album, and there will be suggestions. And we work hard on that as well to bring that forward. And through different services, our implementation, for example, of Qobuz or Tidal, when you go into those, it looks just like you would expect with all the artists, suggested playlists. It's really good fun doing that. And critically as well, not just it's suggesting new music, being able to find specific music. Your friend gives you a suggestion for a track, or maybe you heard something at a show. The search features in Sense are very, very strong. You can start typing a song, it's actively searches, and will start immediately coming up with suggestions. And you can also filter. You can say, well, actually, I want you to search all connected services and my stored music on the hard drive, and it will do that. You could limit it, say, actually, I just want a version I've heard on Tidal. We can search Tidal.
It also seems to be quite good in handling the classical libraries as well, which is always a kind of downfall for many streaming systems.
It
being
certainly
able to
is.
search by composer, by principal instrument, by...
We have very easy to use tools in the library for managing and editing metadata, should you wish to, and also tagging music and marking favourites.
So how does that work? What do you mean by tagging metadata?
So the information as it's presented, say on a CD, and perhaps you want it to see it in a slightly different way, or maybe put an artist title first. It's quite strong in classical, where perhaps there's a piece or a particular performance you'd like. We have a very simple edit tool. You can edit, go through the metadata, change anything you wish, including artwork, very, very simply. And then we can add tags, which maybe operate a little bit like genre. You can tag a piece of music and say, this is
choral or opera
choral,
or whatever,
And then when you return to the library, you can search by that tag, and it will bring anything up that's been tagged in that way. So it's, again, it goes back to that usability. It's intuitive. And
that works across really all of your products, doesn't it? Sense is core to all of the products.
It is absolutely core. And critically, because of the way Innuos operate, we develop the software in-house along with the hardware hand in hand. So we can optimize both. We can
you've got software engineers and hardware engineers in the building, effectively.
Effectively, yes. Right beside the sales team who are listening to what the customers are asking us to do, and right beside the production team. We do everything in-house. It's really critical, because when we're working to try and achieve the level of performance and quality that it's crucial that everybody in the team is working together for the same goal. And it's a great structure for the company to have established.
Okay, so Pulse is where you kind of start.
Yes.
And that would connect to what would that connect to? A DAC? Would that connect to an amplifier?
In the case of our Pulse, absolutely. We have a variety of outputs.
Sure.
We have digital outputs, an analog output, USB outputs for USB DAC.
Yeah.
This is designed to be really flexible.
Yeah.
There's very few systems you couldn't connect this to.
Sure.
It's going to work well. There's also volume control as well. Should you be connecting it to powered speakers or active speakers,
Sure.
Gives you full control.
Great.
So strong on connectivity.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And then from there we go to.
This is the Zen Mini.
Yeah.
So this is our entry-level server.
Which is probably the product that most people will be familiar with, I guess.
I would imagine so.
Absolutely.
I can't think of a hi-fi store at Beidou that doesn't use one of
Quite,
these in the store.
Indeed.
A really very popular product. This is our SSD-based hard drive version with CD ripping as well.
Okay, so that's got the streaming and the digital delivery that you can get from the Pulse, but also it's got onboard storage as well.
Exactly. This then can be used as an Innuos Sense server or also as a Rune core.
Okay.
Very popular use. I wouldn't know exactly the split, but it's probably 50-50.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, very, very popular.
So by Rune core, that means you can effectively run Rune's software platform using that as the processor to operate Rune effectively.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that similar connectivity to the Pulse?
Identical connectivity to the Pulse, again, designed to be as flexible as possible.
Okay.
And also in this case
so
with
SP
network.
diff out, analog out, and USB out
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can configure that with a variety of hard drives in terms of sizes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So it's SSD only now. Used to be old school wherry hard drives. Now
Yes,
it's all
yeah.
SSD, and that comes in a variety of kind of sizes depending on the kind of size of your CD collection. So with something like a 2 terabyte hard drive in it, approximately how many albums would you get?
You could be looking at approximately 2,000.
Yeah, fine.
The vast majority of people will opt for a 2 terabyte, and if it is filled up, it's another key component. You run out of space.
Yeah.
We do offer upgrade programs where we'll actually take the unit back to our facility, back to our factory, and we will install new drive, a bigger drive if you need it. And that happens quite frequently.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we'd
we've
always
had that
advise
instance
people,
as well, yeah.
if when buying, go a little
bit more
more
space
maybe on
than
the
you think,
storage
yeah,
than you think you might need, because there's a good chance when you're enjoying it and using it so much, you might fill that.
Yeah, absolutely,
fill that up.
absolutely. And then in terms of sort of security and backup, so you would generally specify this with an offboard USB.
But backup is a very good idea. We always recommend a backup because it just gives you peace of mind, and your music library is very, very valuable and precious.
Absolutely. Yes, indeed.
And in the case if you've ripped 1,000 CDs, you've taken a significant amount of time to do that. So backup is critical. We have really 2 ways you can back up the system. It can be backed up over the network to network-based storage. It can be backed up to USB, to a typical USB drive.
And that can be set up within the software, so as that's almost like an auto.
Yes, you set it up in the software. It's, again, very intuitive. It's backup, USB, network, and you take it from there. Yeah, but always a good idea.
What we sometimes suggest to clients that have got big collections is they do a USB backup, and they even store it a little bit off-site. So, for example, my music collection, I've got on a hard drive in my desk at work, effectively, and it's just there. So if I had a catastrophic failure, I've still got my music.
Yeah, it's really important
as well.
Yeah,
So
it's
absolutely.
really important.
And I noticed as well that there's obviously a slot in the front for that, for those old school silver discs.
Yes, indeed.
Indeed,
Yes.
indeed. So what's the process for ripping CDs?
With
the Zen Mini?
Out of the box with the Zen Mini, it's all set to automatic. You have to do very little. You put the CD in.
Yeah.
On our Sense software, it will recognise the CD and just start ripping.
So the CD's got its own unique identifier. It goes out onto the internet and pulls in the metadata for the album.
And we use 4 different metadata sources and for comparison, and really the best coverage. It's extremely rare to find a CD where the metadata is not available through those services. So it's very much automated. You can configure to do some of the features manually. You can have what we call an assisted or an automatic mode. In assisted, when you put a CD in, it will seek out the metadata and it will stop. What do you want to do? You can select whether you only want a particular track, or if you want certain tracks, you can edit the metadata at that stage and carry on. We also have a really cool feature in the sense that when you find a disc that the metadata isn't readily available, and I had this tested at a show recently where a lady had a CD and she said, nobody has ever found the metadata for this. Let's see how Innuos does. And we put it in, and sure enough, the metadata was missing. But we have a search function then, where in this case, the CD had been bought in Ireland. It was a classical piece of music that had been made by somebody local in a town. We could enter...
Presumably the daughter of the lady with the CD.
Very possibly.
One would imagine.
In that case, we can prompt a search where we enter the title, and then our unit will then search Google. And it found the information, and you can select it, then say,
and then it prompts it, is that it? You can agree or disagree or whatever. Great.
And then absolutely mind blown at that point.
Excellent.
It's a good feature.
So that's the Zen Mini, and then we have the new product,
Zenith NextGen. Big step up, yes, in the range.
In performance and price.
In performance, price, and technology and build as well. NextGen Zen and Zenith were two products that we launched in the middle of last year in 2024. And they represented a big change for us. They were re-engineered from the ground up. We started almost with a blank sheet and implementing some new technologies and a lot of principles that we'd already had in our toolbox. We wanted to really take streaming to the next level with this product. So the technology inside is...
Don't let too much out of the bag at this stage. We're going to do a bit of follow-up content, doing a little bit more kind of under the bonnet and some of the technology. So in essence, what does the NextGen Zenith do? What is it?
It's a far more powerful server in processing and in sound quality. By a significant
But it really forms
margin.
a similar job, or does a similar job.
It does exactly the same job, and you interact with it in exactly the same way.
Fabulous.
So no difference from that side. The difference is in the sonic performance.
So let's park that for a moment. And the other product that we have today as well is we have your network switch.
Yes.
So heavier than anticipated.
That will be the massive linear power supply in here. This is a PhoenixNet switch. We have two products in our Phoenix range. This is the switch, and we also have a USB reclocker as well off board. The switching and the networking and connectivity side in streaming is really critical. For many reasons, but one issue particularly is noise being injected into your hi-fi system at a really critical point. The PhoenixNet switch blocks that interference effectively, and it reclocks the digital signal going through. It has quite a profound effect on the system. More than a lot of people will realise. But when you dig into the reasons why, then it becomes quite obvious. If we take any hi-fi, any high-quality hi-fi, one of the critical aspects are the power supplies and how silently they operate and do their job. The last thing we want to do is connect those little small switch mode cheap power supplies that most routers and switches come with. They're a huge source of noise and very easily measurable. Both with test equipment and
audibly
and with your ears. Yes. So really important stage in streaming is getting that network as quiet and as precise as possible.
So where does this fit then in the kind of chain? What's the connections on the back? So
the connections on the back.
Effectively, so in this building we've got our router, our internet comes in upstairs, and we've got a hardwired Ethernet connection which comes down and drops into the wall behind the rack. So what happens from there?
In the architecture of the network, this should be as close to the hi-fi. This should be the last piece before your system.
With a view to blocking out as much information that, blocking out as much noise and providing a throughput for as much information.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. We've 4 sockets on the back. We do everything we possibly can to keep noise out of the system here, even to the point where the LEDs that you typically see on a network switch are disabled because they're switching on and off is a source of interference. Each of the sockets on the back has its own discrete power supply as well, separated off from a massive linear power supply.
You're really going for it, aren't you?
You
really go for it.
No stone unturned. And it's a hugely popular product for us. People absolutely swear by it, and it can really transform a system.
Great, excellent. Okay, now that was great. That was really interesting. Thanks very much for that. Hi there, it's Allan here from Loud Clear Glasgow. Loud Clear is Scotland's premier hi-fi and home cinema retailer and installer. The purpose of this channel is to give you a little bit of insight into some of the behind the scenes of the hi-fi industry. We're interviewing some techs, some salespeople, and we're trying to find out some really interesting information about some of the brands we know and love. If you think this is the kind of thing that might be of interest to you, please like and subscribe.